Advice on giving advice. There's an old saying that advice is what people ask for when they know what they ought to do, but don't want to do it. There's some truth to the statement, but not always. When people request advice, it's usually because they are ambivalent about an important choice. One part of them wants to take one course of action, while the other part, equally as strong, wants to do something else. Whatever the situation, one piece of behavior that really annoys most people is getting unsolicited advice. Therefore, I recommend that before giving any advice, be requested to do so. Saying something like, "Are you looking for advice?" is helpful. Then the person could say yes or decline, saying something like, "I'd just like you to listen and be a sounding board." If the person says yes, it's important to preface any comments with a statement indicating that this is just your take on the situation and they're free to use some, all, or none of the advice you're about to give. In fact, they can even do exactly the opposite of what you recommend, and that will still be fine with you. You'll be there for them regardless of what they decide to do. This is important because it frees the other person from feeling obligated to follow your advice. Something else that sometimes causes trouble is that the individual giving the advice gets frustrated when the other person doesn't follow it. Therefore, if you have a very strong opinion that the person follow your advice, I recommend you refrain from giving it. If you're asked to give advice about someone you don't like, it's important not to say anything negative. For example, let's say you don't like your sister-in-law and your brother requests some advice about whether or not to leave her. If you say something very negative about her, then you could be in for a very awkward situation later on if they stay together. It's best to say something neutral like, "It seems to me you get really upset when you discover that she is using cocaine," as opposed to, "You ought to leave that drug addict. By the way, you're free to use some, all, or none of the advice I just gave."